What's going on, guys? It's Illuminostic back again because I'm serious about this marathon. After this, I have a client call, and then I'm going to have some dinner, and then I'm probably going to pop on for a live jam session, although those are getting more and more difficult because my gear is becoming more and more problematic. In fact, that's why I'm a half hour late. Just to reiterate why I'm having to do this fundraiser, it has this thing it does where every time I start another live stream, I have to reinstall the drivers for my DAW, and then I have to go back and change the settings everywhere. And if I don't change them all, if I forget any, then something will be like, you know, there'll be silence or distorted voice or whatever. So it's just crazy, man. I'm tired of it. So we need to replace all of our gear. We haven't even paid this computer off yet. It's crazy. There's no reason. It's like it's literally haunted. But so the other day, I think it was like 2 days ago, I drank some ayahuasca, and I had just seen a few videos with RFK Jr., and it was definitely on my mind trying to assess, like, is it possible that this dude could really help? Or, you know, because I've entirely given up hope on the U.S. political system because I'm not stupid. And one of the saddest things I think I see is that people still believe that red or blue is meaningful, that they're not just puppets all controlled by the same people. And you know what I mean? Outside of the U.S., no one believes that about the U.S. political system. Like, and then people think that that you know, couldn't possibly have been a conspiracy or a scam or whatever. And you know, I don't see how it is that the most corrupt government and the most powerful and capable government or elite with the most concentrated wealth amongst the fewest number of people, which is the number one prerequisite to conspire and pull it off. Like, why is that so hard for people to imagine it could be possible that the most corrupt, you know, regime in the history of the planet did some of the most corrupt shit that's ever happened? I don't understand why that's. Why are you an idiot for saying that? Like, how does that make sense? You know, particularly among the left these days, which is weird because it used to be the right that were kind of the more mindless, you know, blindly following their leaders kind of party. It's changed a bit, unfortunately. I thought everyone would just wake up instead of like, it's like the pendulum just swings, but nothing really changes. Besides maybe the distribution of qualities. But yeah, so lost my train of thought a little bit there. But the bottom line is I was thinking, you know, okay, this Kennedy guy, they killed his dad. And I know last time I said this, some of you guys in the comments were like, that's not true. That's a conspiracy theory. Bullshit. There were more casings than the guy could have held in his gun. He didn't change his clip. He had one clip, and it was not changed. He didn't have time for that. The bullets came from a different direction than where the guy was standing. And assassins that have been programmed, and this is not according to conspiracy theorists, this is according to MK Ultra Freedom of Information Act documents that have been released by the CIA that describe all this stuff. Automatic writing with their objective over and over in their diaries. That's standard for people that have been programmed to kill these type of assassins. And in his diary, it just said, RFK must die, RFK must die, RFK must die, over and over and over again. So, you know, I mean, these Kennedys always just die, and I guess that's just normal or something. I mean, you know, Jackie Onassis buried 2 of her sons. It doesn't seem to me like Kennedys are ever dying from natural causes. And so, you know, it occurred to me that one thing that I wouldn't have predicted, I guess, is that a Kennedy would come into the equation because he's got an actual vendetta, right? Not only have they been censoring and oppressing him for, you know, 40 years or 18 years or what he says 18 years, but I would think it's longer than that. He's got an actual vendetta against them, and he seems like he doesn't give a fuck, you know? He knows they'll kill him. They killed his uncle. They killed his father. They killed his father. Like, if you're seriously thinking that, you know, there's no possibility that we can trust this guy, I wouldn't be so sure. And if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, these deep state people murdered his entire family practically, you know what I mean? It's just, if there's anyone alive that might actually have enough motivation to go up against them, which he's definitely doing. He's definitely calling them out. I noticed that they say that his sources are all quacky and that, you know, it's not legitimate and he's a conspiracy theorist. But I checked all of his sources that he names, and usually he only references CDC source and John Hopkins, which is the standard for consensus. So where are all these loony theories? Like, where are these numbers are all? And then the guy that wants to debate, they're saying, well, we can't control the misinformation, you know, live. So vet the sources before the debate. And what they're doing is they're actually turning off the comment sections so that people can't say that, because the solution is so obvious. Like this, they're saying it'll just, the doctor's official position is that he doesn't want to do the debate on Rogan with RFK because he doesn't want to strengthen the conspiracy theorist side. Okay, so vet the sources before the fucking debate. Shut the fuck up. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? That's not, just be real. This is such an obvious solution to this problem. What are you really saying, dude? You know, so, I mean, we're making some ground in the mainstream, and it seems to me that, you know, that's about our only shot. You know, I know a lot of people believe in Donald Trump, but my humble opinion is that that's completely insane. Joe Biden is a career slime bag. There's no hope there. And generally there's no hope in the office of the president because it's a charade. It's just a puppet. It's a joke. It's a scapegoat. It's meaningless. People still have this investment in it. Like everything that goes wrong in the world when there's an incumbent president, they're like, that's that damn Biden, whatever. No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with him. All he does is sign where he's told to sign, pass what he's told to pass. They don't do anything but what they're told. Give me a fucking break. Nothing that happens in the world has anything to do with an American president. Nothing at all. Nothing. Look at Kennedy. Where is Kennedy? Kennedy made his own decisions. What happened? He got shot in the fucking head. Come on, people. You know, let's be realistic. But so this started to enter my mind, and I had drank ayahuasca, and immediately, you know, Pachamama's there like, well, let's think this all the way through. And I'm like, yeah, so, and she's like, well, you're correct. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are just as much pieces of shit as you think they are. And then some, really, because you don't have all the information. And RFK is kind of a piece of shit too. He did cheat on his wife so much that she got addicted to drugs and alcohol and ended up hanging herself. And this, by the way, while we're on the subject, the repetition of patterns in history is extraordinary. You know, you could say it's a coincidence, but it seems a little bit weird to me that every time the U.S. is practically at civil war, there's some bullshit war on the horizon. And by every time, I just mean twice. Well, no, the first Robert Kennedy was probably going to try to clean some shit up too. But, you know, race tensions, psychedelics are exploding, and there's some philandering Kennedy trying to do a suicide mission to get himself shot in the head to try to expose the deep state again. It's the exact same shit that was going on when the first Kennedy was elected. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And it, you know, it almost is a big score for the simulation people, because it's like, what? Really? What is this? This is like a rerun or something. But yeah, so she says, you know, he's kind of a piece of shit too, but you are correct that he has this vendetta against these people, and he's old and he doesn't really care if he dies. So, you know, he is probably on your side, but you have to also consider that he is an entrenched elite. Like, you know, he could be a pawn in their game, or they could turn the situation into, because this is what magicians really do, right? You turn every development to your advantage, right? So even if he's not on their team and on their squad, they're very adept. That's why they're called adepts. They're very adept at turning things to their advantage. So the one thing that really got me right before I drank ayahuasca that I heard him say was that we should bring all of the troops home from the like 800 military bases that we have all over the country and make it so expensive and just pointless to attack the United States that we don't need this overseas presence, and it's just not going to happen. And I've been thinking that forever, that you cannot justify going overseas and killing people. You just can't. Unless you're being attacked, you're in the wrong, period, end of story. And, you know, I've caught a lot of flack. I don't know how I didn't mention this in the haters live stream because, you know, I've taken some shots at military service people and basically taken the position that it doesn't really make you a hero to kill people for college money. And a lot of people take a lot of offense to that. But I recently spent some time on Vet Talk and shorts that military people are making. And go have a look yourself. I don't really know if we want all these people coming back to the United States all at once, for one thing. And that's what Ayahuasca said. She's like, think about the shit that you have seen them joking about, like wanting to shoot the little children that are running around in Iraq and they're not allowed to and they're pouting about it. And then you go to the comment section and they're like, you know, all these people that are clearly not joking, talking about how they felt the same way and shit. Like, it's pretty scary. And, you know, if you think that people are like that, are not going to be like that towards their own citizens, their own country when they come home, you're out of your fucking mind, you know? And I do recognize, of course, that there are lots of military people that are great people and that really thought they were doing the right thing and all that. But what I'm saying is to bring all of them at once back home to the U.S. and, you know, might not actually be that great of a thing. And then if you consider the fact that if there really is some sort of totalitarian, and remember, this is all coming from Pachamama, you know, she's saying if there really is some kind of totalitarian New World Order thing coming down the pipes, do you really want all that military already stationed there, ready to turn those guns on the American people with all these completely insane post-traumatic stress disorder military people from all, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds good at first, but if you think it through a little bit, maybe it's not so good. And it was funny because she wasn't really giving me answers. You know, she wasn't saying, you know, no, you're wrong about Kennedy. He is not good. She was saying, you know, it does look like probably the best option. But what I'm understanding is they're not even going to allow him to debate Biden, which means that, in my opinion, like they talk about people saying the elections are rigged, you know, that you're undermining democracy. By the way, you guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe, support me on Patreon. And don't forget, this is a fundraiser. We are sinking like a fucking stone, and we're trying to do everything we can to make the world better. So we need your support to continue doing that. And I'm not kidding at all. If you're curious about exactly why we're doing this, I don't want to say it in every single stream I do during this marathon, but go back to the first video I made today and just watch the first 5 minutes, and I go through pretty much everything, although there was some stuff I forgot. But what was I saying here? Not giving me any absolute certain answers. But really just kind of like shining the light on the importance of really considering every idea from every possible angle and, you know, being really careful about wish demons. And when you are sort of, you know, people are predisposed to believe things that they want to believe. This is actually one of the biggest problems in the world, that people believe things more based on their desires and their comfort zone and what they're, you know, able to live with than actual reality. And of course, that's pretty much what allowed the world to get this far out of bounds in the first place, is the, you know, pathological denial that people have developed, the collective pathological denial. I called it in an older video that I made, which you should go back and watch, actually. It's called the Eye of Horus or the Eye of Ra. Can't remember which, but I made it in early 2020 and predicted a bunch of things, and it's pretty insane. It's pretty wild how accurate it turned out to be in the long run. Yeah, so that was basically it, you know, and I'm sorry if anyone was looking for some like absolute insight here, but it was really like and by the way, I don't necessarily 100% objectively subscribe to the idea that Pachamama or this ayahuasca spirit is actually real in the objective sense. And studies have been done that have suggested that it's not very powerfully, mostly because people that had no preconceptions about whether it was male or female were split totally down the middle as to whether it's male or female. So the thing is, if there's some kind of thing in the universe and we're trying to figure out if it's real or not, one of the things that you can do is have a bunch of people look at it, and if they all see like there's pyramids in the desert, then there are pyramids in the desert. But if a bunch of people look at something and they all say something different, then that's called subjective belief, and it's not objectively real. So on the flip side, though, I am 100% certain that ayahuasca regularly provides information to people that they could not have access to. And this is something that has been documented for a few hundred years now by Western people. This is like not some new agey idea. Telepamine and telepathine were the original names for the Harmala alkaloids that are found in ayahuasca. So that much I'm quite confident of. But it really sounded like the opinion of this ayahuasca spirit was that no matter what happens, the entrenched elite are going to turn it to their advantage, no matter what, And, she basically said, you're right, this probably is another Kennedy on a suicide mission with a vendetta against the deep state and shit, and he might get shot in the head if he manages to get in there. Oh, this is what I was saying, actually. Man, before I ran off on this tangent, this is really important, too. People talk about how if you are questioning the democratic process, even though an 11-year-old girl hacked a voting machine a couple of years ago, and that every time one side loses, the other side accuses them of cheating every time, and then the side being accused of cheating says, how dare you undermine our democracy by questioning our voting process, right? Flaming fucking idiots all around. Sorry. I mean, it's just insane to watch this. But it's absolutely 100% objectively true and verifiable. You can go back and look yourself. They've all done it over the last couple of elections, without question. And then the voting companies, or the voting machine companies, have admitted to rigging machines for the CIA and selling them to countries where the U.S. is trying to rig their democracy. So if the U.S. government doesn't hold the democracy sacred abroad, why would you think they hold it sacred at home? It's just not realistic at all. But at any rate, they all say that. But let's think about the government itself. If you have someone like Kennedy that, you have a divided country, you have people practically fighting in the streets, in 2020 we did. We have the entire culture going down the drain. And if you look at the comments in Kennedy's TikTok and everywhere else, people, right-wingers, are like, this is the only Democrat I would ever have voted for in my entire life. So, if they're trying to unify people and make some progress, like, they're not even going to let this dude debate Joe Biden. It kind of looks like your democracy is already rigged before you even make it to the fucking polls. Like, what are people thinking? You know what I mean? How is that even legal that they're not going to let presidential candidates debate the incumbent president? How is that even legal? How is that not undermining democracy? You know what I mean? This shit is insane. It's absolutely fucking insane. And, I'm sure people were hoping for some like guiding light from ayahuasca, but she was basically just saying like, this shit is so fucked at this point. There's probably nothing anyone can do about it. So, yep. And I mean, that's not necessarily my final position or opinion on this. But I've noticed that, as I've started talking about this, it's been impossible to hold an audience. And that's one of the reasons this channel is not necessarily good for my mental health. Because if there's anything in the world that I could be saying to people that they should be listening to, it's the shit that I'm saying right now. And the fact that, even people that would click on one of my thumbnails are like hesitant to hear this message is, why I think that even Pachamama is like, there's no way to fix this. It's just like, I don't know why people are so scared of the truth, because here's the thing. If you're actually brave enough to confront the truth, you might have a chance at fixing it. But as far as I can tell, after it passes a certain line, people just lose their courage. Their nuts fall off, however you want to put it. It's pretty shocking to watch the downfall of Western civilization. But hey, that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And so, you know, my vote, at least, is that we all do our best to encourage people to get behind RFK. I'm thinking the best thing we can possibly do is to just make it so obvious that he would have won by a landslide and unified the two sides of the countries. I mean, you know, as divided as people are in the U.S., think about the slogan, united we stand, divided we fall. Wouldn't you think it would be like the #1 objective to unite people in the United States if that's like their main slogan? United we stand, divided we fall. And all you got to do is get on TikTok or YouTube. YouTube is mostly deleting the videos that support him. But you look at the number, everyone in the comments, everyone is like, I would vote for this guy. I'm a conservative and I would vote for this guy. I'm a Republican and I would vote for this guy. It just makes what's actually happening in the U.S. so blatantly obvious that it's like painful to watch, you know, and it's very, very difficult to even start this conversation with people. Yeah, it's the only chance. And like I said, you know, I'm the first to admit if I'm wrong, or when people were saying that he's full of all this misinformation and stuff, I looked at his sources and it's the CDC and Johns Hopkins. I mean, I don't know what they're talking about. You know, he actually is not retarded, and he knows that if he says anything that's objectively false, he's going to screw up his whole shit. He's not doing that. He really isn't. It's a lie. It's 100% a lie. It's not mostly a lie. It's 100% untrue that he is spreading misinformation. It is absolutely false. So, you know, and again, you guys, you know, I mean, I don't know that he can win, and even if he does, he's just going to get shot. But I still think that we need to do everything we can to show support and to encourage other people to be brave enough to show support. Because, you know, I don't know how there are still people out there that believe that presidents are elected, not selected. I don't understand how that's even possible. I don't understand how fear drives people to be so delusional that it's dangerous. I do not understand. It's just not that scary to me. You know, I don't get it. I don't understand the cowardice. I don't understand the narrow-mindedness. I don't understand the fear. I don't understand any of it. But sounds like Ayahuasca's voting for RFK. But again, you know, it doesn't look like it's even going to be an option because they're not going to allow him to debate Joe Biden. They're saying they're not even going to have a primary. And why would they do that? Why would they do that? Because they know that he is such a demented old piece of shit that can't form a sentence that they're not willing to, you know what I mean? And here's the thing. The reason he is there is that he's the only one left, I think, that is totally sold out to the degree that they can absolutely trust that he's not going to turn on them. You know what I mean? I think they're running out of shitbags, like career shitbags, to use to bamboozle people and, you know, hustle the American people, basically. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific to watch this, mostly because you don't need to be a super genius. You don't need to be super intelligent, but you do have to have thick skin because apparently if you think for yourself and you don't just blindly believe whatever narrative is approved, you're an idiot. That's like actually the message that I'm getting from the overwhelming majority of people. And it's not just the left. A lot of people say that, you know, that the left are the ones that are doing that, but the right does it too. It's just a different narrative. But they still do it. If you question their narrative and you're supposed to be one of them, any part of it, then you are a traitor from the other side. Any part of it. You know? And the reality is that both sides of the aisle have some things wrong and some things correct, and that's why they're able to use them to divide people. You know? So I don't think anything about Justin Trudeau because I don't know anything about Justin Trudeau. I try to pay only as much attention to politics is I have to. And of course, like just about any other American, when you see the Kennedy name, it just reminds you of like decency and hope. And, you know, a lot of people don't believe this or know about it. But 2 weeks before Kennedy was assassinated, or 3 weeks, he gave a speech. And there are, you can find it on YouTube. But he gave a speech where he said, there is a plot on this planet to enslave every man, woman, and child on Earth. And then he was dead almost immediately. He was also scheduled to start LSD therapy at the behest of his brother Robert. So, you know, Kennedy was about to drop acid, probably with someone like Timothy Leary. You know what I mean? They would have had someone like that do it. Maybe somebody whose reputation was, wait a minute, no, Leary's reputation hadn't been tarnished yet. So we were about to have a Kennedy in office that was already a Kennedy, but then had also done LSD. Like, we came awfully close, I think, to taking the United States in a direction that would have been meaningful and that would have changed the trajectory of history. Because basically what happened is the pendulum started to swing in my direction, basically. You know, the direction that I would swing it if I could choose. And then they caught it and they swung it back in the other direction. Pretty hard. And they did it with much more sneaky propaganda, much more adept propaganda. Yeah. I don't know why everyone is dropping off all of a sudden, but I guess if that's what's happening, I'm going to drop off too. So you guys have a good night, and I will be back in about an hour, hour and a half. Cheers.